Hi everybody, this is Anthony from Sunny Creates. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So I thought I'm going to show you a different kind of a video today. Just getting my lights sorted over here. I hope that made some difference. And I'm not sure how many of you struggle with what I'm about to show you, but so I picked up this book. I picked up 10, I'm not 10, I picked up 4 like this for 10 Rand each. And the reason I picked it up was, you can see it's very dirty. I just pulled it out of my stash. I'll clean it up. But the reason I picked this up is because I like the binder that it came in, the file, and I like the cardboard in this. And this is, I think it's knitting. Okay, it's a series on knitting, and I do knit, but you know, these days you can find everything over the internet. Hey, so I thought, well, won't this just be fantastic in terms of using this cardboard, and then for my tags and stuff like that, and then using this binder for whatever it was. And it was sitting collecting dust, and then I was like, hold on, I need to make something that holds my stamps, because I am tired of working with flimsy papers and, you know, putting your stamps back into those little plastic sleeves, and then they tearing and stuff like that. And I have been growing my stamp collection, so I thought, well, what would be a way that I would like my stamps to be stored? Now, this lends itself to take out as many pages as you want to, okay, and to put your stamp collection. And as I mentioned, I got 4 of these, so if I can use it, you know, even if I use 4 of them, that's fine as well. And some of my stamps came in these nice, what's this word? This plastic sleeve over here. So they kind of work well, but still, to me, they are not ideal. And the reason to me they are not ideal is, once you start using these stamps over here, they start getting loose from the backing sheet. And this here means that it can still fall off that way. So I thought about it, and I was like, okay, what size are most of my stamps? And I realized that my stamps are quite often than not around this size here, in terms of, you know, when you put a whole set of stamps together. And then obviously there were ones that were bigger, and I questioned myself, and I don't know, you know, some people might not agree with what I did over here, but some people might agree. And for example, like the Tim Holtz stamps. Now, if you have Tim Holtz, you'll know that it comes on a larger sheet than this. So what I did is I questioned myself. Is it important for me to, you know, keep the sheet binding as it is? Or is it important for me to be able to store my stamps? And to me, the answer was quite simple. I wanted somewhere to store my stamps. And if I had to cut that down to size in order to be able to fit in here, I was comfortable with that as well. Okay, so that's what I did. Now, my first prototype, I had it in my head to do something what I'm going to show you next. But yeah, I kind of messed it up a bit. But that's okay, because I wanted to show you, maybe this might work for you. Is that I took, I got a whole lot of these file or folder, or what sleeve protectors, page protectors, or whatever that you can put in a file. And I've been collecting it over the years, and some look like they're not new, but they actually new. And then some are my sons and stuff like that. And I don't know about you, but I sometimes don't have the heart to throw something out if it's not completely damaged. Okay, so I kept the ones, and the decent ones at least. Like for example, this one is a brand new one because it's been in storage for so many years, you know, it's a little bit crumpled or whatever. So I decided that I want to use this over here, something like this, so I can file it. But my main thing about the whole thing was that I did not want to just do this. To me, I felt if I was creating something custom, I wanted something better than this to store my things in, you know, my stamps in. It would work, but it wasn't suitable for me. It didn't appeal to me. So I wanted something that, how can I put it to you? I wanted something that looked pretty, and I also wanted something that held my stamps fairly tight. So there's no wiggling around and total movement of the stamps or whatever. So this was my first, you know, thought. Well, yeah, my first botched up thought, let's put it that way. Okay, and I also didn't want, I knew I wanted this packaging to be sturdy, so my stamps don't move around in it. Okay, and I also knew I wanted to have kind of stamps all the same, or my packaging to be standardized, if I could say that. Yeah, for lack of a better word. And I wanted something where even if the stamps came off their backing, that they're not going to fall out from whatever they were in. So I thought, okay, so why not do something like this? So that's where I took one of these here, right? And I opened it out. Anyway, I'm going to use that. And just let me leave this to the side. I took one of these, and the reason why I'm spending time on this one is because you might want to make this. It might serve your needs. Okay, so I took that, and I had, I think this is Janie B Journals. I think that's what her Etsy shop is called, if I'm not mistaken. And she has beautiful, what you call it, digitals, and very, very reasonable. I definitely think that if I, you know, was not designing my own digital kits, she would be a firm favorite of mine. She was. Oh my gosh, she was. I can't tell you how many kits of hers I have. So, and she still is. I still visit her shop. So I think this is her Fresh Flowers, and I could be mistaken because I could have some other, you know, creators, digitals that I'm going to pull out now. Because what I do is, if I print them and I'm not using them, I kind of throw them into a big a concertina folder kind of a thing, and then I would throw everything that was flower related or whatever into one thing. But I know this is Janie B. This one I know is Janie B, and it's either her fresh flowers or fresh cut flowers or whatever, 1 and 2, because I think I bought both, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I could have mixed it up, but nevertheless, let's stop talking about that. What I did is I took printables, and then I covered them. I covered this, and I covered it back, and I covered it on the front as well, just because I wanted it to look pretty. It didn't need to look pretty. The main thing was to have something sturdy inside. Then I also didn't want this to move around. Okay, so, and not only did I not want it to move around, I also wanted it to be what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry for the glare. It's all the lights that are on over here. It's dark here now. Yeah. So, and I also wanted to cut it down to fit into that binder. So, some way or the other, I had to use something to be able to close up this edge and close up that edge. And I thought, well, what better way than to put this in here and then sew around it, okay, and then so it will hold the board in place, and it will also seal up the edges, kind of a thing. And then you might have, you know, but might be asking me, well, why didn't I just use this as the opening? Well, I told you why I didn't want to use it as an opening. I wanted the whole stamp set to be enclosed. So if anything was a bit loose on the backing sheet, it was still going to be safe in a pocket, kind of a thing. So what I did was I covered it, okay, I put it into this, and then yes, and I kind of held it in place. Now this is very slippery. You'll see the stitching is very untidy because it does, you know, it does move around in your sewing machine. Now you can find another way to do this. Maybe put two-sided tape if you don't have a sewing machine. I'm sure you know, I didn't explore that. I have a sewing machine. But I'm assuming you could do that, but not on now. So that was my first attempt, and which means you can use it like this. But then it's no better than that opening there. Okay, so it was never my intention to make it like this. As I said, it was a botched up, you know, it was botched, you know, it went wrong. In the sense I didn't think it through properly. But hey, if you are comfortable with something like this, then that would work. Or if you are comfortable with something where you cut it down here and you sew that part up and you leave that open, yeah, that means you only have to sew one side. But I don't like digging into something, if you get what I mean. I don't want to put my hand in all the time, and the length is wider. So I wanted something that had easy access. Okay, so that's the first one. You could do something like that. And I'm explaining it to you so that you know all your options. And then what I wanted to really do was I really wanted to do something that looked like that. Okay, so it becomes an envelope like that. And then there's your sheet, which is sewn in. And then you can put your stamps in here, and you can turn it over and you can put another set of stamps in there. And then I used Velcro, okay, to be able to close it shut. So now the possibility of my stamps, especially the small ones, getting lost when they are in this is almost slim to none, in the sense that this is an envelope, and it's got a decent enough closure, and it will protect my stamps. Now this one over here, I kept it all in one. In retrospect, maybe I will make it in two. But what I just did on this is that sometimes now when you're putting in your stamps, right, so see, it sticks. Okay, so when you're putting in your stamps, for example, some may have sharp edges. Okay, so this is sticking really nicely. I might turn it down into two. Now this really doesn't stick at all, so I'm talking about these kind of ones. So all I did is I rounded the corners on all of them, so when they actually go into the into the pocket, that there's no corners that what's the word I'm looking for, jagged, and they're not going to rip through the paper here. Now this is a very, very tight squeeze on this one here, and I probably will go back and cut it down, and you know, make it two different ones, kind of a thing, because I didn't want to cut the backing sheet down anymore because it had a pattern on it. So, but just so that you know, if you're just a bit patient, it's going to go in and it's going to stay there and it's going to work, right? So yeah, so if you find it's too hard, then just cut it in two. Now look at that. How easy was that to come out and in? So there you go. And then all you do is you fold it there and you store it that way. So there's the Tim Holtz one where I said I cut it down, right, which is the ticket booth one. And all I did was, like, I made a decision and said, well, do you want to or don't you? And I did. And now that I'm looking at the Tim Holtz one, I haven't rounded the corners on this one. Not a very good job there, kind of a thing. Okay, so just gonna round the corners there and then put it in. Now obviously the Tim Holtz ones, they're much more they're much more thicker stamps. And I've got one on this side and I've got one on this side. So you can see that even with two Tim Holtz stamps, well, not two, kind of one on this part and one on that part, it's still pretty sturdy, and you saw how easily that went in. Okay, so this one here, I'll probably cut it down. It's just sad because then I would lose that, you know, the acetate on that. But yeah, I'll see what I can do. It's not something that I use all the time, so that's fine. I can leave it like that and just struggle. Or you can make it bigger, because depending on what size you have, you know, you can make that bigger. So it doesn't really matter. Like for example, it's just too complicated to take this one out. And not only that, it's got a decent enough binding, so why not use it? And then all you do is you just place it in there. Now a little word of advice, you probably can't see this, but you know, the natural, or the one that it comes with that already, that sealed edge, try to keep them all onto one side, because I didn't realize it, but they actually just give me a second please, 1 minute. Okay, sorry about that. Yep, so I can't remember where I was, but yeah, so yes, I remember now. So make sure that your natural seal is sitting all on the same side. Like, yeah, mine is on that side and the other one is on this side here. And what really happens is that it's so funny, but these holes, they differ according to where that seal is. I didn't realize that. So and the other thing is, you decide on what type of paper you want to use. I suppose directional will even be fine, really. I don't mind. I don't think it's going to make a difference. So let me show you how I got it done. Okay, so yeah, here's a perfect example of the seal being in two different I mean the holes here being in two different directions because of where the seal was. So I'm going to take this to one side, and it's not difficult at all. It's actually quite simple. So I took a full one, okay, and I'll give you measurements. Not that it'll matter, but for some idea. This is about just shy of 15 centimeters by 21 centimeters. So I took two of this. One I left it as it is, and the other one I cut it down to, I think, 6.5 centimeters, because this is going to be my flap. Yeah, 6.5 centimeters, and the width of the 21 centimeters. Okay, so I cut it down so I can use multiple. I mean, I can get two, at least two from one piece, one page. Let's call it a page. So what did I do now? I just went in and I brought out some papers, and if yours is not so wide, because if you look at this, you know, I tried saying, okay, let me fold it over. Then I was shy on this side. I was short, kind of short, and I mean, don't know, it might work like that, depending whether you are you know, you're worried about that or not. So you know, you could just do this. You could take this and you could just fold it in half like that, and you can make it work, kind of a thing. So you'll have just a little short on each side. I wanted to do the minimum amount of cutting, and I was so lucky because this page was the exact height of an A4 portrait style, not, I mean landscape style, not portrait. So I got lucky. Okay, so you can do that like that, and all you will have to do then is burnish it, right? Okay, and then glue it together, kind of like that. Right, so let's do that quickly. Yeah, so I hope you're having a good week. It is still my week off, and I tried to this week I set aside for playing around with things that I wanted to do for a very long time. This was not one of the things that I wanted to do, funny enough. I wanted to make paper, homemade paper, and I did. And it was enjoyable. And I think I made homemade paper when I was in Girl Scouts, brownies, I don't know, many moons ago. A long time ago. So and that was under supervision from the scout leader, not scout, Girl Scout leader, whatever. And it was so much of fun. And then I needed a blender, and I found an old one that just worked, and I broke it too. So I wanted to make paper. I made paper, and I also found a technique that works for me, and hopefully I'll get a second-hand blender, and I will share the new technique with you, kind of a thing, to see whether, you know, I try to find everything that's as easy as possible. You know that about me. So anything that's easy, that works, and that I can make myself, I will do it. So there we go. And you can use cereal boxes. That's my table. Cereal boxes with this. It's just that I have this, so I'm using it. And I decided not to ink today. I decided I'm keeping the inking. Yeah, not inking today. So on this one, let's see. I kind of like, and that's why I like the Jenny V wrapping here, because I kind of like the fact that she's got coordinated pages. I just grabbed some. I don't even know, as I mentioned, if everything is hers, and if I'm going to find, oh yeah if I'm going to find something that I like. I think that would work. Okay, so what are we going to do here? Now I can use any one of these as well. These are scraps that I have, but I kind of like that polka dot, and then something like all with patterns on it. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same thing with this, like this. Something like this. Yeah. So yes, I made my own paper, and as I mentioned to you, I did find a technique that worked for me in terms of laying down the paper. And yeah, it's like a little bit, I don't think it's very difficult, but I'd like to show you the technique rather than explain it to you. So when I find a good blender, well, it doesn't have to be good, I'm just not going to take my kitchen one and use. When I find a replacement blender, then I'm going to, I broke my beads, pull them apart. I was trying to get the glue off and I pulled it apart, so I need to sort it out. Yeah, so when I get a second-hand blender, then I'm going to do that. So if you have made paper before and you haven't used a liquidizer or a blender or whatever, and you use some other tool, let me know. I know my friend, he was doing it, and for his daughter's project, and he said they used a Dremel. a Dremel, but he said beware, it was very messy. And I don't have a Dremel. What's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, I wasn't not in frame. I've been holding out buying a Dremel. So yeah, but he used a Dremel and he said it worked. And I made my own decal. I think it's called a decal. Yeah, kind of a thing. So now, just so that you know, if you want to ink, this is when you're going to ink. But I didn't want to ink. I wanted it to be, sorry, that's my son. I wanted it to, yeah, I wanted it to be flowery, kind of a thing. So, there's this page here. Take the side that is, so these are the two sides that are open in terms of the paper. So, you know, on the fold, take the side that's on the fold and place it away from this this edge here where you have the punch lines, and your sealed edge should be on the right hand side of you. Yeah, right. Cool. So folded edge away from this, you know, the punch lines, and sealed edge at the bottom. Okay, and you're going to do this. Okay, and you are going to make sure that your paper that you just put in is sitting flush with this edge. So the edge of the paper is going to sit flush with the sealed edge and that sealed edge. Okay, and you're going to make sure that you get that right. Otherwise you're going to have puckering, which, I mean, you can have a little bit of puckering, I suppose. It's not gonna hurt you. Right, so I'm going to now take my clips and I'm going to put it there to keep that in place. Then I'm going to take this piece here, which is going to be the flap, and also there's the edge that is folded, and there's the edge that's not folded. Okay, now you want the edge that's folded to actually be away from the folded part over here, this folded part. Okay, so you want that edge to be, so that's the raw edges and that's the folded edge. So the raw edge must go against the folded part of the protector, the page protector, and the folded edge must go away from that. And you are now going to line this up right against that edge and that folded edge. Now the trick about this is that I'm going to show it to you now. I am so glad that I invested in these clips. I can't tell you how much I love them. So, this will only work if you are going to be using something that's the width of your page protector. So if you want to do something where you don't have the flap, then your your entire sheet can be that wide. But if you want to have something with a flap, then your entire sheet and the flap must fit into this. Now it's very simple. All I did is I looked at what I wanted. I mean, this was not cut down in any way. All I did cut down was this one here. So this measurement of the flap was purely dependent on how much, I could put my flap, how wide I could make my flap in terms of the width of the paper. So the width of the paper minus this gave me the measurement of my flap. But having said that, you will see clearly that there is a gap here. A gap. I'm hoping you can see it. Can you see it? There's a gap here. Okay. And that gap is extremely important because that gap allows that flap to fall down that way. If you don't have that gap over there, it's not going to work. And that gap is important because we're going to cut through that gap. And we're only going to cut one layer of the page down. Of the protector. Okay. You'll see what I mean just now. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the sewing machine as it is. And then I am going to sew. Right? So on this piece here, your page, you must only sew 3 sides. All right? You only need to sew 3 sides. If you want the opening to be on this side, then you don't sew that side. If you want the opening like mine to be on this side, then you don't sew this side. And if you want the opening to be on that side and you want this flap to be on this side, then you just move the flap onto that side there. Okay, I prefer it this way, and that's why I did it this way. Right, so you sew down there, down there, down there. Make sure you have your double stitches at the ends. Turn your needle. No, you don't turn your needle. You can't turn your needle. Turn your work with your needle in at the corners, right? This one here now, right? You are going to, I made a mistake. I forgot to show you something on this one. Silly Anthony. Before you put this in, take a template or whatever you have, right? Because I've done a few now. And I'm going to line this was me cutting it out from, others over here, right? So there's my my doubled edge, my folded edge. I'm going to line it up there. Like how you would cut a tag. And cut. Sorry, talking and I forgot this. Like that. And then turn it around and line it up here on the side and also cut it. So you don't have to do that. You can even have rounded corners on this. You can round your corners here on this. I don't know. I like this. It gives it more of an envelope look for me. So you don't need to do this. In fact, if you're more comfortable, don't do it, because here you got to go in at an angle and sew it. The other way, you don't have to go in at an angle to sew it. So, maybe I would do a few like that as well. Okay, so there's my edge now that's folded. Oh, you know what? I made a mistake. The edge that was folded was supposed to be on that side, like that. Okay, it's fine. Right? It's actually right. edge that's folded on the outside, edge that's not folded on the fold over there. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. It's still right. No, it's not, something. You cut the wrong edge. But there we go. Kind of like that. Now, so makes it a little bit more difficult, but that point is going to sit exactly on that edge that is sewn already. Not sewn, you know, like sealed, right? So don't do what I did, because now you got the folded edge over there with a folded edge. You should have done it the other way, but it doesn't make much difference. So now put it in there like that, right? And you are going to now sew it. Okay, I think there's some stitching loose there, and all I'm doing is I'm trying to align all the way through here. Okay, and I'm going to do that. So I think I came out a little too in on this, so there's a little bit of an alignment issue on that, but it's fine. And where's my stuff? So I think in you know, to be easier, to kind of make it easier, you might want to have rounded edges, but yeah, depending. All right, and there you go. So now once again you're going to sew down here, and down here, and here you're going to sew the whole thing. You're going to sew all the edges. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to get back to you. Okay. Okay, I'm back now. In my word, was my sewing machine a bit angry with me? Sure. Yeah. It was a bit angry with me. I'm not sure why. In fact, it was a bit stubborn. Maybe because I abused it today with these. Yeah, so you can see what happened. I puckered it here. So kind of, yeah. So it just took out all its revenge on me, because obviously I'm getting it to sew cardboard and what's this word, paper at the same time. No, plastic. So get yourself a good ruler, pair of scissors, and all you're going to do now is you are going to cut the excess away like that, as close to the line as possible. And when you come to this part now, when you come to this part, all you're going to do is you're going to then move your scissor to cut as close to that now as possible. And why did I do that is because I can't cut straight. So I'm going to use this for something else. You know that, right? So I just have to find a project. I've got something in mind. And then on the same side here as well. On this side, I mean, sorry. Cut as close to the cardboard as possible here. All right. So now you've got something like this. But if you look at it, there's no opening. There's no opening here. So all you're going to do is on this side, so that's where that fold was, the natural fold, the natural seal. But on this side, remember it was opened and we cut through there. So all you're going to do is you're going to take your scissor, but you are going to find an opening in the material. I mean, in this plastic. Remember, because you get a sheet that goes in here, right? So there is already, the plastic is already separated into two parts. So here too, that is why that gap was so important, because we didn't close up that two parts, okay? All you got to do now is you got to take your scissor, Not on that part, because that part was naturally sealed, right? But I mean, the way it's cut, you can even do it on that side. But on this side, take your pair of scissors and find the separation between these two pieces of plastic, and put your scissor through it like that, and then cut. And when you're cutting, just try and cut with as much, try and cut flush with the edge of your big sheet, not with the flap. Okay, and just cut. And I say cut, and then stop short of the natural seal. And what I normally do is I sew from here down here to here, and then I just take it across there. So there is that little, you know, piece of thread there that is there, right? And there you are. So cut until that thread or so, or just before the natural seal, right? And that's what allows for you to have the double pocket, one on this side and one on that side. This here is still intact. It's still sandwiched between the two layers. This is sandwiched between the two layers, but now the difference is you've just cut, you know, cut those two layers apart here, and that allows for you to have the double, being able to put well, it doesn't allow for you to put stamps on both sides. It's just so it works. Okay, if you don't cut it, it's not gonna work. Okay, but take advantage of it, because now you can have it on that side and on that side. And then the last thing for you to do is put some Velcro on it. You can put snaps on it as well. Yeah, whatever works for you, or whatever you can get. I think snaps would be a good idea. Look at what I did. Oh, gosh, what a disaster. Now let me just take this one and try and find the middle, which, you know, in my case is almost impossible. Now, oh my greatness. And then two of the same, and then put this one down there and fold it over, and here you go. You have yourself your little envelope, which you can now tuck into your thing called file, and put your stamps in it. Yay. Okay, there we go. And then there's your stamps. Well, I do hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you enjoyed this and you aren't a subscriber as yet, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. And if you like this video and you found it helpful and something that you might incorporate in your crafting, then let me know about it. And also, if you like it, please give me a thumbs up. It does help me to get noticed on YouTube. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a blessed day and week ahead from Santini at Sunny Creates. Bye bye.